Hello everyone, this is Ramlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to the January 2020 edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Now, let's jump into the questions. Voice of the Emperor asks, Ghazghkull vs Tusker, who comes out on top? Ghazghkull. It's gotta be Ghazghkull, he's the prophet of Gork and Mork. You know, sorry Tusker fans, but Ghazghkull, come on, it's Ghazghkull. What do you think the Orcs were based off? I heard they were based off the Cockney stereotype. Right, so from what I can recall, I remember hearing something saying that they were based off of, stereotypical football hooligans, with the exaggerated Cockney speech and, looking for a fight, kind of like Orcs in general. I can't remember if that's actually true or not, but I do remember reading it, or hearing it some time ago. But whether it's true or not is another matter entirely, but I like to think that's the case. Brandon A asks, can lesser demons evolve? Actually, there has been at least one instance of this happening, with Kugath, because Kugath was originally a Nurgling, then he drank Nurgle's cauldron, then turned into one of the most powerful of the Great Unclean Ones. So yeah, it is possible. Do simple mechanics have to obey the laws of the Adeptus Mechanicus? I believe they do. I know it's mentioned in the new Cal Jericho novel, Sinner's Bounty. There's a member of a Cawdor gang doing some maintenance on an ore hauler, and he does mention about having to appease the machine spirit. So, yeah, I believe they do. How do you think the Nova Marines feel about their Primarch telling them not to attack any of the Eldari? Well, again, the Imperium doesn't have a peace treaty with the Eldari. They have a non-aggression pact with the Inari, that one specific faction. So, Craft Worlds, Exodites, Harlequins, Drukhari, it's all fair game for the Imperium to kick the shit out of. That being said, with the Nova Marines, despite their monodominant doctrine, I do think that if their Primarch does tell them not to attack someone, they'll do what their Primarch says. Jason Beard asks, now that the dust seems to have settled from Guilliman's resurrection, do you think GW should bring back another Primarch? No. Sorry, let me clarify. By your question, I assume you're talking about a Loyalist Primarch, to which the answer is most definitely no. However, that being said, if you have to bring back a Loyalist Primarch, you bring back Lionel Johnson, solely on the basis that we know for a fact he's still alive, as in currently still alive, not that he was alive at some point, so you still have the air of mystery with the other Primarchs like Russ, Korax, etc., but since there is no mystery in regards to the state of Lion, he's just sleeping, the longest catnap in history, he'd make the most sense to bring back, if you had to bring one back at all. Darks asks, if you could assign a D&D class to each Primarch, what would you do? I don't know enough about D&D to answer this, sorry. Warbus Fracas Snazfingers, and I apologise for this, do you think them forgotten Primarchs are still alive, and if they are still alive this whole time, you think they's aiding the Imperium behind the scenes all sneaky like? Yeah, sorry about that. To put it simply, no. I genuinely don't think they're still alive at this point. I think they are long dead at this point. Though it would be interesting if one was alive, but at this point in time, it's not looking likely. Ghost Reaper asks, would it be possible for you to revisit your alternate history where the sides that the Primarchs had taken were reversed? I have been meaning to go back to that story. I just haven't been inspired enough to do it really, to be honest with you. I mean, never say never, but if I do go back to it, it probably won't be for a little while, sorry. Asbertees asks, will you ever consider doing a video about the world of Molech and all its related happenings with the Emperor, Horrors, and other shenanigans? Yeah, I could do that at some point. LaVoz asks, please don't destroy the future. How was warp travel possible before the Astronomicon? Was it fueled by something other than the Emperor? Well, warp travel itself was, possible long before the Astronomicon was created. It's just that the modern day Astronomicon serves as a lighthouse. It is revealed in the first wall that the original intention of the Astronomicon was not to serve as a lighthouse, but as a weapon. So they could still do warp travel, around the Dark Age of technology and all that. It's just that they didn't really have any sort of beacon to guide by, or if they did, it was an artificial construct akin to, some Dark Age of technology shenanigans and all that, because we know that navigators existed before the Dark Age of technology. I think they were coming out just prior to it. So, people could still navigate the warp, they just didn't have what is today the Astronomicon. They could have had an artificial technological version, or they just relied upon blind luck and just had a navigator say, "Don't steer us into that whirlpool." Brentfeast asks, if Malice were able and inclined to create demons, what do you think they would generally look like? I swear you've asked this question 2 or 3 times before. But yeah, black and white in coloration, and looking as if they're ripping each other apart. Let's say GW decides to trim down its roster of named characters for sub-factions that have more than 3 of them, such as Ultramarines and Space Wolves. And let's say they decide to kick this off by shocking everyone and having one of them fall to Chaos and become a named character for them, and kill another named character in the process of their fall. Which character would you have fall to Chaos, which one would you have them kill, and how would you have the whole scenario playing out? Oh god, that's quite a big question. Right, to be honest, this is something that needs to go more in depth for another video, I feel. Because there is so much to unpack with this, especially in regards to, picking a scenario of how it all unfolds as well. So, I'm not going to answer it here, sorry, but I will make a video about this for patrons in the future, so stay tuned, patrons. Chief Surgeon asks, with law changes in regards to the Catan and their fates and the planets that held the remains of the Catan, is it possible that their remains still reside there, or even greater shards than ones already been seen used by Tesseract vaults? Could there be ramifications of such large shards being disturbed? I mean, as far as I'm aware, those worlds that originally held whole Catan in 3rd edition lore have just been retconned to just being worlds that held a shard of the Catan. That way you still got things like, the Nightbringer story and that still being canon, etc. I do think they are incredibly powerful shards, but I don't think they haven't been discovered. I think they've already been uncovered at this point. Allbrick asks, Frenzy is red, Rumble is blue, or Frenzy is blue, Rumble is red? Frenzy is red, Rumble is blue. I grew up with the cartoon, not the comic. So, yeah. Besides, Frenzy just works better if he's red, because, red being the colour of aggression and Frenzy being aggression. It just works better. Kenju22 asks, would it be possible for an app-human like Saiyan Ogrin to undergo the process of becoming an Astartes if the gene seed used came from a mutation-prone Space Marine chapter, such as Black Dragons, Salamanders, or Blood Angels? No. To put it bluntly, because even with baseline humans, gene seed won't work on everyone. This is why apothecaries have to screen potential aspirants before they are selected to undergo gene seed implantation process, because not everyone can accept gene seed. It needs a very specific set of biological requirements. Not only that, but the progenoid glands of a Space Marine take some of their DNA as well, so that they have all the genetic material needed to create brand new implants. This is why the Emperor's Children's gene seed was so pure, because they selected only the finest physical specimens to include within their ranks, and the gene seed obviously took some of their traits as well when the progenoid glands developed, resulting in their gene seed becoming purer. Zero Hits asks, Happy New Year, Remlays, or Happy New Year to you too. Are there any particular stories that you enjoy involving 40k factions needing to put aside their differences and work together for a common goal? There is one I actually do really enjoy in this subject matter, and that's the short story Enemy of My Enemy. It involves the Astra Militarum and the Orcs teaming together to fight against the Tyranids, and it's absolutely brilliant. Especially with the Orc war boss bethinking himself to be a general and pushing his little toy tank around on a map going vroom vroom vroom, while the Imperial Guard General was like, can you put that back please? Yeah, of course, I'll just run a rating strategy. It was adorable. I highly recommend it. And finally, Kenneth asks, do you think the shape-shifting abilities that Corvus Corax obtained would work outside of the warp? I see no reason why not. It might be quite draining for him though, due to being psychic powers or whatever. So I could see him doing it, but it just might be exhausting for him to do so, as it were. And that concludes this episode of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Until next time, this has been Remlays from 40k Theories, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.